Martial arts musings, yeah.
Welcome, martial arts enthusiasts, to another Martial Arts Musings. I am your host, Dwight. Today, this cast will focus on the topic of motor imagery, or commonly called visualization in the martial arts world. So to begin, I want you to close your eyes. With your eyes closed, think about a 10-foot by 10-foot room. Old brick walls, sun shining through one window. In the middle of the room, there is a punching bag, hanging from the ceiling. Stand in front of the bag, and throw one punch. What kind of punch was it? A jab? A cross? A hook? Was it thrown with the correct technique or form? Could you feel the power and speed behind the punch? Now go ahead and open your eyes. I just talked you through a motor imagery scenario, and in some part of your brain just fired up and lit up. So you may have come across many martial artists and web pages that talk about how visualization can improve your martial arts in a very generic personal experience and or anecdotal way, without really explaining how it works, and I wondered if there was any truth behind some of these claims. So let us review some scientific studies to see if we can draw some reasonable conclusions. In this cast, I will only focus on whether or not motor imagery, visualization, can help you in self-defense or martial sports training. I will not delve into mental training areas like the quote-unquote zone or the quote-unquote success mindset. And with that, let's look at some science. Dr. Stephen Koslin, a Harvard neuroscience professor, wrote a paper on the neural foundations of imagery, stating that before 2001, mental imagery existed only in the realm of philosophy and psychology. He writes, quote, "Researchers agree that most of the neural processes that underlie like modality perception are also used in imagery. Imagery not only engages the motor system, but also affects the body as much as can actual perceptual experience." 6 years later, in 2007, a study published in Perceptual and Motor Skills researched karate practitioners to determine the effects of mental imaging on the development of skilled motor actions. The 30 practitioners were split up into 3 groups and tested once every 7 days. One group did nothing. A second group practiced ura, shuto, uchi physically every day. The third group practiced mental imaging of ura, shuto, uchi every day. The results. Group 1 showed no improvement. Group 2 showed improvements on strength, power, speed, and physical reaction. Group 3 showed improvements on strength, power, and mental activity, but not speed and physical reaction. Next, Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience published a study in February of this year, 2015. The researchers studied 14 individuals to perform an isometric pinching task. The results they found that there was activation in parts of the primary motor cortex of the brain. These data suggest that the ability to activate the primary motor cortex with motor imagery can help improve simple task performance and accuracy. If you notice the trend, before 2001 motor imagery visualization was shrouded in philosophy and psychology. In 2007, some progress was made that practicing a hand strike in your mind could, in fact, improve the physical hand strike. In the latest study, more progress was made to show that the brain lights up, some sort of neural connections going on, when you're performing tasks in your mind. But did you notice anything missing from these successful improvements? Where was the failure? A book, Talent Code, written by Daniel Coyle, introduced that world-class skills are a byproduct of myelin cellular insulation. Myelin wraps neural circuits and reinforces a skill path in the brain. He says, quote, "Deep practice is built on a paradox. Struggling in certain areas of your ability where you make mistakes makes you smarter," unquote. This is a key statement when it comes to motor imagery and visualization. It would seem we cannot improve motor skills as much unless we experience failure. I generally do not believe many people intentionally visualize failing. So what can we take away from these studies, and what are some of the downsides? On one hand, science is starting to prove that visualization and motor imagery can help actually improve motor functions. So your martial arts moves, your kicks, your punches, you can improve those using visualization. Just like the scenario we imagined at the beginning of this cast, we might have just possibly improved your punching function just a little bit by mentally practicing it right at the beginning. However, on the other hand, the sample size of the studies are very small, and more research is necessary to continue to prove out motor imagery and motor functions. Secondly, motor imagery tasks seem to be restricted to simple motor functions or movements. And lastly, failure breeds the best success. A reasonable conclusion could be motor imagery can help improve martial arts techniques with constant feedback, aka mistakes, from physical actions. Let me know what you think about this. Please send me any emails with your comments and concerns about motor imagery. Go and look up these studies yourself. Go and come up with your own conclusions. This is just one area that I was able to put together and present to you folks. You can find these podcasts on www.martialartsmusings.com. You can find my Facebook, my Twitter accounts there. You can find my blog, which I'll have a corresponding blog if you just want to read this. I want to take the time and thank you all for listening. Thank you for your support. Please, if you feel like you really like this, support this podcast. There's a button at the top of this page so you can become a patron of this podcast. And if you give me $1, I will give you a shout out. And so with that, thanks again for listening. I'm your host, Dwight, and you guys listening, hopefully you've improved your punching just a little bit. Bam.